Yeah, we mentioned how Urbit as a web server, it's called Air, and it lets you serve web pages to the public or to yourself or any subset of people you so choose. The thing that Air does is it lets you, log in as yourself to prove that you're you, and you can use your web interface to post, chat messages or do whatever to your ship. And that's, in some sense, there it says, okay, for every HTTP request that you make that you can prove is authenticated as yourself, we thread your Urbit identity all the way through the stack of the request. So if you send a message, you sent that message as yourself. This sounds somewhat obvious because the request is going into your ship, and your ship is the thing actually sending the message. But this is interesting implications. Like, what if you write a web application that lets people send messages even though they're not logged in as the ship that they're, One of the reasons that doing things with unauthenticated requests is somewhat awkward is that some of Air's affordances just aren't available in that case. So when you have chat open in your browser, it has a live connection to your ship where it gets updates from the messages and you send new messages in. And so that works like a data stream. That data stream functionality is only available, though, if you're actually logged in. And so if you want to build something like the urbit.org stream, that's suddenly impossible without reinventing parts of Air in user space, like for your specific app. And being the prolific shadow code developer I have already done that on 2 separate occasions, and I got kind of tired of it. So what I did is say, okay, I'm done. Like, what we're going to do is we're going to say Air is open in a way that it previously wasn't. It's going to make this data stream available to unauthenticated requests also. But crucially, the data stream is structured in such a way that you interact with it as if you were an Urbit identity. And so for authenticated requests, this is easy. Like, you're yourself, you're your own identity. But randos from the public web, what's their identity? They don't have one. Except we can just pretend they have one, right?
Urbit. We did this for a while too, right? Do you remember when we did this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So the Urbit namespace has like galaxies, stars, planets, but it also has comets, and you can mine these for free. They're very long names. The namespace for those is gigantic, and so we can just pull a random one from there, have the chance be infinitesimal that it conflicts with anyone, and just assign that to our guest, if you will.
Yep.
And so that's the first half of what I've been working on. Philip, if you can.
And that comment's probably just a function of the browser. Like, if I come back with the same, I guess you could just set a cookie. So I have a session cookie with the comment that you sort of mined for me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's the new and improved login page. And you can see at the bottom here that I have a current guest identity, which is a random comment name. And so this was just, created for me by the ship that I'm making requests to, and it gave me a cookie. So if I go to the name endpoint, it just tells me that same name that I'm logged in with. If we go into the cookie section and we delete these, we refresh, we see that we get a new one. But if we refresh again, we maintain it because it's stored in our cookie. So already now we have a guarantee that every request to Air has an Urbit identity associated with it. And this is nice for a number of different reasons. First of all, you don't have to in place invent stuff when you want to do, public chat messages, for example.
Because you now have an identity that you can use to authenticate the stream of chat messages that will come back to the browser, right?
Yes. Yes. And so as far as application developers are concerned, this is much more ergonomic because now instead of like looking at the request and figuring out like, oh, which IP did this come from? Like, what is there? Did they give me special cookies that I created for them? It's like, no, you don't look at any of that. You just look at the source.bol like you do with a request that would come over the network normally. So the developer ergonomics of this are really nice. But guest identities by themselves aren't that interesting because they're fake.
You still probably don't want to let them do too much anyway, right? Because they're free.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Like they have all the same problems that normal comments have. You can create them on the spot. They can disappear whenever, right? And so you should be somewhat wary of them. So there's this little toggle at the top of the login page here now where I can go into eauth login mode and I can put in my own Urbit identity. And it tells me that I will be redirected to my own web interface to authorize logging into Zod, which is the ship we're looking at now. So let's pretend I'm Nick and click continue. You'll see it forwarded me to a different port on the localhost. And it's loading a blank page. Okay, so it knows where to send me because when I click continue, let me just bring this back. When I click continue here, the first thing it does is not give me a response. The first thing it does is on the network, talk to Nek.
It goes and asks Nek and says, what's your URL?
Yeah. Yes. And so Nek responds with the URL and then it forwards us there. Presumably,
that was not something we did prior. This was actually a problem last time we implemented this. Do you remember this, Bill? Like, I remember that we had this thing where, it was like, we were like, shit, how do you get, anyway, you had to be hosted urbit.org. Yeah, that's smart. This is a smart solution, actually. It's such a simple and smart solution. Because before it was like, oh, well, you could only do it for ships on urbit.org because how do we trust other, but of course, if you ask the ship and it self-reports its own URL, fine. But then how's the ship know its own URL? That has to be state that the ship knows, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, the URL discovery is a whole other thing. The solution we ended up settling on is being like, oh, whenever you log in as yourself to your own Urbit, we take note of what the URL is that you use to do that.
How do you, is that in the request?
Yes.
Yep.
Brilliant. That's okay. That makes sense. That's so much easier. Oh my God. I remember fighting this one.
Yeah.
You guys, it's like a therapy session for me.
We're cleaning up all your past trauma here.
But yeah, asking Nek also makes sense, and then you know where to send it. This is OAuth, basically. That's why it's called eauth.
It's basically OAuth. Yes.
E for electronic authorization. No. Or air, either way.
I was thinking air. Wait, the other brilliant thing though, because OAuth, you come back with a token. I'm trying to think of the server side version, like component of OAuth. I've implemented OAuth before. The nice thing here is that you get that in this. It's cool because you're using the namespace, right, the whole time. So you can, because I'm sending a request over the network to Nek, that's authenticated. So I know that Nek themselves is going to tell me, like I know that I got that URL from Nek. Okay, cool. I can trust the URL. Even if it's like just some random IP, I'm like, well, whatever, Nek told me that's where he is,
Yes.
Right.
And so then Nek can tell me, okay, like, and then when it comes back, right? So you're going to go to Nek, you're going to log in, and then, well, wait, is your demo broken, or should we see the next couple steps? Because I'm preempting that.
Yeah, we can see the next couple steps.
Yeah, let's see. I'm just thinking about
really fast, right?
Okay, yeah. So you go to Nek. Nek tells you, you go there. Yeah.
Yeah, I go there. We have a page here that needs tiling.
Right.
I can reject or approve.
Just make the buttons
but
bigger.
Here you're already, you're already
I'm already
Here
done.
you're already logged in. You're skipping a step. What if you weren't logged in as neck? Because then
Yeah,
you
so
wouldn't see that.
that's why we got the blank page previously.
Ah.
I thought I had implemented a redirect to the login page and it would look cool and be smooth, but it wasn't cool and it wasn't smooth.
It's okay, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, then you click accept and like it sends you back to. So, okay, the moment you click accept, two things happen. Neck sends a secret over Ames to Zod. So Zod knows like this is a good secret, right? And then
Well, it's a neck originated secret. It's a
Yes.
secret that neck knows about. Yeah.
Yes. And then also it redirects the browser back to Zod to a URL that contains that secret. And so if those two match, then you know that the browser making this request is legitimate. Yeah, but that's the general flow. It works really quickly. You get some nice affordances once you're actually logged in remotely like this. If we look at the debug dashboard for neck, we can see we have an outgoing auth session into Zod that has been logged in since, what is this, like 5 minutes ago? And we can log ourselves out there remotely if we want. Likewise,
Wait, so
Right, this is
now-
from neck. You can log yourself out on Zod. Yeah.
What? Yeah, right. Because you kill.
you
just
just tell
tell Zod,
Zod,
"Hey,
like,
kill
I
that-
want this
kill
gone.
that cookie."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is also this is cool for maintenance for us, right? Because it's like, oh, we're running a Galaxy, and you're like, okay, just like, can I log into the Galaxy as WikDev Wisrite? You could like let that be a permission. You could like approve that as a permission Galaxy side, right? And then whatever, yeah, it's like a nice.
Yeah,
there's,
you
like,
you
interesting
certainly
stuff
could
do.
say something like, here's a list of ships that if they log in as themselves, they can access WebTerm. And at some point, you even be like, and also we'll record everything they type associated with their name, like all that kind of stuff. Is going to be
Yeah.
important at some point.
So you're gonna kick yourself off. Oh, you can see all your
I can-
sessions, including the
Yeah,
comment.
I can like I'm on Zod here, so I can kick neck, which is going to refresh the page. And then here, if we refresh, we see the outgoing auth disappears. And then here, if we try requesting our name again, we're back to a comet identity.
Interesting. Well, so what do you want to use this for?
So the first thing I'm going to use this for is to throw all the user space re-implementation of air I did into the trash and replace it with this, basically.
Wait, what do you mean? Like for what? For
Have you not seen this?
no, probably not. Try to see as much as I. Oh yeah, I've seen this.
This. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this uses something similar.
I mean, this is old. I've seen this has been around for a while.
Yeah, this has been around forever. But it uses like a similar mechanism, right? Where it like mints a fake comet and associates it with your browser.
Yeah.
Right. So you'll be able to use this as just like you just show up and you get a comment, but you'll also be able to like go to a web page like this and be able to type in like and log in as yourself, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right.
So I could go to like urbit.pel.dev/login and do like the eauth flow for that. And then I would be able to post here